Good morning, folks. I'm Dan. Quick little project I'm working on today, accomplishing several things. I'm having trouble with some of the audio in some of these videos, so I've changed things around. My setup's a little bit different, so I just want to check what the audios are on it. The last few that I've done, I'm picking up quite a bit of background noise and just some noise that shouldn't be there. So anyway, I'm testing audio in this. Getting ready to do some composite work on the 701. Got molds to build for slat tips, flaperon tips, and wing tips, probably in about that order, really. So I need a hot wire cutter for that. I had built one previously, used it for quite a while, and it got set up. It was really quick and dirty, and this is going to be another quick and dirty one to replace it. So I'm just going to give you a quick little overview and just touch on the high points, and then I'll come back and we'll show final assembly and all that kind of stuff and how well it works. What I'm doing is I'm charging it with a battery charger. I've got an old 1050 amp battery charger. That's going to be my power source. It's sitting right down here. It's an old one I've had kicking around for years. That's what I powered my last foam wire cutter with. I don't think the newer electronic battery chargers will do it. I think the electronics in there will cut it out. It won't let you maintain the amperage settings you need to run through, and I'm not sure of all of that. And with everything else, we're all grown-up people here. Make your own decisions. This is the way I do stuff. It's not necessarily the best way. It's not necessarily the safest way. It's not necessarily the right way. It's just the way I do things. So make your own decisions. You're responsible for what you do. If you're smart enough to be building an airplane, you're smart enough to be able to decide if this is going to be safe for you to use or not. So anyway, that's what I'm powering it with. I'm heating nichrome wire with it. I'm just using scrap to build it. This is an old shelf out of a desk that I'm going to use as a base plate. And I've got a hole in the center. My wire is going to run down through. We're going to put a couple of stands off on each bottom side, and all they are is ripped down 2x4 that I've had. Those are going to go underneath the edges, and this is going to be our framework. Our wire will run between, spring loaded on the end to maintain tension on it, and we'll power one side of each of it, and then that battery charger is controlled with just a simple dimmer switch. A rheostat is what it's going to be. This will mount underneath. We'll mount underneath like that, basically. Will be our setup. Wire will run between, spring loaded there, and we'll wire it up. Okay, time for some assembly. These are our top brackets. This end's going to hold the nichrome wire. And we're going to put a washer on there with a nut. Lock that one in place. Actually, let's just bring the camera down here so you've got a little better view of what's going on. Okay, this will be our upper arm. This is our lower arm. And I just put a carriage bolt in there. All of these dimensions are just kind of in the wind. It's whatever is going to work for you. This is big enough it will do everything I want for these smaller pieces. When I get to the cowling, it'll probably take a little bit larger hot wire foam cutter, so we'll just build a bigger base. We'll use the same power supply. And then we're going to connect our wires in here between a couple of washers. That'll stand it off from the wood a little bit. Plus it'll give us a pretty good clamping surface. There's our lower. I spaced it off with a washer on the bottom there. Want to make sure everything's relatively square here because you want a nice 90-degree cut. go. Our upper arm fits in here. We just want to check and make sure our spacing's right. Just like that. Should have 8 5/8, which looks good. 8 5/8 looks good. And that's just an arbitrary number. There's nothing written in stone about that. So we'll flip over and put our feet on. We've already laid them out. That to be right there. Set that right in place like that. Okay, there's our underside. We should be able to flip it over. Nice and flat. Goes that way. Okay there. That like that. This is just some 32 thousandths nichrome wire. That should give us plenty. This is a bolt for our tensioner there. Just leave that loose for right now until we get this all situated. Looks to be about right. More length to that. Loosen that up a little bit. That looks a little better. And then for our springs on the back, this and this. Actually, we want to do it through the other way because this will be our connection for our wires. And what I'll do is I'll run a jumper wire from here to here and from here to the bolt that's going through the back, and that's where we'll connect in, add power to it, and all they're going to be is a through stud. Like that. And that will just be a clip on, so what we'll do is just put a lock nut on there. And then to add our tensioner, now when that heats the first time, that will stretch and add a little bit of a tension to it, and hopefully should straighten that right up. We'll hope. And there's the mechanical part of that tension, or of the cutter right there. Pretty good that way. Well, here's the mechanical part of it done. Once we heat this nichrome the first time, why, it will tend to stretch just a little bit and it'll straighten out hopefully. But this is the mechanicals of it. We're relatively straight up and down. We can make a little bit of fine adjustments by doing bolt tension and that kind of thing. We're spring loaded, so we'll hold tension on our wire the way we want it to. We're out far enough that we shouldn't catch anything on fire or burn anything up. That's always a concern, especially when you're using wood on something like this. But I've got enough clearance on here that it should be fine. I've got my little light dimmer here, which is on off, and we're going to put it in another box. We're probably going to mount a box over here on this right hand side, since I'm right handed and that's the easiest to control from the right hand side. We'll do that, and we'll put a plug-in box so that we can just plug our battery charger into it. Run a couple of jumper wires. I'll run one jumper from here back to here, and that's where I'll hook one end of my battery charger clips to. And then on the bottom, I will do the same thing. I'll run off of the off of the bottom of the wire off of that bolt, and we'll run back to a bolt right here. We'll put a stud out there and do the same thing. We'll just run a jumper wire around to that, and then we can clamp our battery terminals on here and here, and we're ready to go. So that's going to be all there is to it. Like I say, we'll mount a box up here, probably right here on this side is going to be up and out of the way more than anything else towards the back. All right, well, hopefully we've got this all in frame and everything's as it should be. We're just finishing this up. Still don't have a cover plate over the front, but we've got push for on and off, and then we've got a rheostat to control how much voltage or amperage we run through our nichrome wire. This plug-in is where we plug in our battery charger or our power supply. I've run my wires off of the bottom of this nichrome wire from that bolt back here so we can hook one side of our battery charger or power supply there. And I've run a wire across the top so we can hook the other side of it up here, any place. And other than to plug it into a power source, we're ready to go. So we plug that one in, and this is just a piece of 1-inch thick piece foam. This is just a handy board that they had on hand without me buying a full sheet of it, or a 2-inch thick sheet. What I'm going to do is stack either 2 or 3 of these, and I'll glue them together, and then we'll cut the actual outline of it. For right now, for demonstration, we're just going to cut out about 4 or 6 of these of the blanks, and then we'll glue them together. So let me back this up just a little bit so that I've got room to work this foam board around. See what we'll do. Start her up. We're throwing some amperage there. We're not too concerned as long as we leave enough material to first one. Yeah, not too bad. And what we'll do is I'll just glue those together, whether we use a little bit of hot melt glue or whatever the case may be. And then we made up a little template. This is a hardboard template. Doesn't necessarily have to be. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, cardboard will work. We're only cutting, you know, 2 of these stacked or 3 of them stacked, whatever the case may be. So anyway, I cut out my paper template to match the end of the slat, and then I glued it onto a piece of tempered hardboard, 3M Super 77, of course, links in the description below. And then I went ahead and cut it out and sanded it. So there's my profile for my wingtip or slat blank ends. We'll put those in. I drilled 3 holes in them. We'll just drop a couple little brad nails in there just to hold alignment on them. They can be glued on. We can do whatever we want there to make that work right. We'll glue those together and we'll cut those out. Probably add a 3rd layer just to make sure we've got enough thickness. We can always sand it away. So anyway, that's where we're at. I think this project's a success. Any comments or suggestions you've got, leave them in the comment section for me below. And if you haven't already, you might want to hit that subscribe button. If you hit the bell notification, you'll know when I put out a new video. And thanks for taking the time to watch, guys.